Hello, I'm the Media Wiz, because one art form wasn't enough. And just like with Shaggy Dog, I'm going to do a vlog on this movie because I still want to talk about it. I took notes for a potential review, but I really couldn't find that much to say about it, so that's why we're doing a vlog on it instead. So we're talking about Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves. Very small backstory. The first movie did well with audiences and critics, so Disney made a sequel. It was mediocre. I enjoyed it, that being Honey, I Blew Up the Kid. They made several Disney theme park rides about it, with Honey, I Shrunk the Audience. And the same year they made this third movie, Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves. They also had a TV series, just released a couple months later, because the movie was released in March, and the show was released in like September, I think. I might review the show at some point if I actually remember, because I hear it's not that good, even though it lasted 3 seasons, so that's kind of impressive. But we're gonna talk about this third movie today. All right, so Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves. The reoccurring characters, the only reoccurring characters we got this time around, are the Zielinski family, just like the first two. Wayne Zielinski, still played by Rick Moranis, who, when he first shows up in the movie, he has this like goofy helmet thing that can call people, and it's like powered by solar rays, and they have this like goofy cartoon sound effect, like multiple goofy cartoon sound effects playing, and I was like, oh great, it's the Inspector Gadget movie, except I'd rather watch that than this. I actually kind of like the Inspector Gadget movie. Go check out me and Austin Trench's review of that. But the wife, Diane, is played by a different person. She could do the first two movies, but not do this one. And the child this time around is Adam, who was the baby in the second movie. Because let's face it, they couldn't get actors to reprise the role of the older girl, who wasn't even in the second movie, and they couldn't get a kid to play Nick, the kid from the second movie, who was the nerdy kid in the first movie. So they couldn't get an actor to replace him. So instead, we've just got Adam and his two cousins, and they establish two other people who are family relatives. Gordon, who works with Wayne at his laboratory, which the laboratory looks like the kids section at a Crayola factory. Like, you know how like they have like Crayola factory tours for outsiders, and they have like a little section for the kids to enjoy, and they have like giant cartoon gears and stuff to make it look like something that kids would like. That's what this laboratory looks like. And there's some gags that take place at the lab, like they take this sedative that makes people glow in the dark. That was whatever. The point is that you establish this whole relationship with the parents and the kids, that the parents don't trust the kids, and the two wives want to go out and have a weekend together. They say it's a vacation, but then they say it's like, oh, we're gonna be gone for 2 days. It's like, that's a weekend vacation. And the two dads, Wayne and Gordon, are supposed to stay and watch the kids, but Wayne and Gordon get invited to a space shuttle, after a comedic call from the wives, they say, no, you're gonna stay and watch the kids. The kids say that they could survive on their own. The parents obviously don't trust them. And then we get to like one of the key plot points that gets the story going, is that Wayne, before they leave, Wayne decides he's going to get rid, because Diane really hates that Wayne has this giant tiki head in their house. This thing was never established in any of the previous movies, and now all of a sudden it's our plot point for the film. So they decide, Wayne's like, I'm not going to get rid of it. Instead of just putting it in the attic, he's like, I'll shrink it down and carry it with me, using the shrink ray from the first movie, which doesn't look anything like it did in the first movie. They shrink it down. They're like, well, that's pretty good. The thing obviously is still running, and Gordon even points it out. It's like, hey, that thing's still running. Oh, well, no one's there to manage it or push any of the buttons. Comedic things happen. A billiard ball rolls onto a conveniently placed track that has the ball land on a button, and they get shrunk down. That was probably the only funny part in the movie, because Gordon screams and it was funny. You just have to see that one clip and you'll see what I mean. So the two wives decide to go back because they forgot one of the kids' medication. So they get there, and they go up in the attic for some reason. Oh no, they go in the attic because they hear the machine was running, and then they get shrunk down too because another billiard ball lands and they get shrunk. So that there you go. That's the plot. The parents are now shrunk down. Now compared to the first movie where everything was practical effects and everything like the sets of them in the backyard were like really impressive. This movie doesn't attempt that. Everything's on green screen and it really shows because the green screen is really cheap looking. As for what happens after that, the kids are like, yay, Home Alone, no parents tell us what we'll do. We can invite our friends over and have a party and blah, 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 blah. And yeah, so they invite friends over. The girl invites friends over. The boys don't invite anyone over. The girl invites some preppy douchebag she has a crush on, who turns out, surprise, surprise, is a douchebag, and some of her friends. And one of her friends is played by Mila Kunis, so there's that. The rest of the movie is just the parents trying to work their way around the house, dodging large insects, just like because the first movie did it. They ride around in a Hot Wheel thing. That was kind of neat, I guess. There's the whole subplot about Adam wanting to go to sports camp instead of going to science camp. And there's this whole gag, and it's not funny because he's looking at this magazine with the other boy, and they're like, then they step away, they put the magazine down. Wayne goes to see what this magazine is, and it's a sports mag. You thought it was a porn mag, but oh, they tricked you, the little hijinks, they pranked us. That wasn't that funny. Really, I don't know what to say aside from that. Like, that's the whole plot, and it's just like with the first movie, they have the relationship with the aunt. The two wives at the beginning of the movie or actually, no, it's just Diane. She doesn't like the spider that's in her kitchen, but then it turns out, oh, this is actually a good spider, and the spider helps them get onto the countertop in the kitchen, and yeah, it's. I really like. I feel like I should be describing more, but that's just it. They do a scene where Wayne and Gordon almost get eaten because in these Honey I Shrunk the Kids movies, there always has to be a scene where someone gets potentially eaten. There was the cereal in the first movie. There's a part where the baby is about to eat the car with Nick and his girlfriend inside of it, and now there's this. Because Wayne and Gordon, while the girls are having their party, they land in a bowl of onion dip, and they're about to get eaten. That's probably one of the few times I actually laughed. How they get all the partying kids out of the house is really stupid because what they do is they hotwire the speakers in the living room so that Gordon can speak and he pretends to be the voice of God. And that's what scares the kids out. The fact that that worked is even stupid for a straight-to-video Disney movie. They're like, guys, parents, there you are. You guys are really small. You guys saw all the things that we were doing. Oh noes. They have a very brief moment like, should we bring our parents back to normal size? If this was a Twilight Zone episode, it would have ended with them keeping them shrunk. But they decide, no, we love our parents. They bring them back to normal size. The parents now trust them, even though they invited kids over when they shouldn't have. But they demonstrated that they can stand up for themselves and they're plucky young kids. So yeah, family bonding. They decide to let Adam go to sports camp, and we end with one more gag of a terrible Photoshop that the Tiki Man is now gigantic in the backyard. And yeah, I don't know what to say about this movie, to be honest. It's not the worst thing ever. Like, bad family movies, Spy Kids 4 is leagues worse than this. But at the same time, I can't say it's that good. Like, even Honey, I Blew Up the Baby was better than this, in my opinion. Just because, that went to theaters, so by default, it was kind of better. But this one just feels like, the story just felt like they didn't really have much to work with. They were just like, yeah, we need to make another one. This time they get shrunk down, instead of the kids. There you go. And the production, it really does scream straight-to-video movie. Is it a horrible film? It's watchable. I will say that. It's the kind of movie that, yeah, I think really young kids, I feel like families could watch it and, they'll probably enjoy it. But, as a person who really liked the first Honey I Shrunk the Kids movie, because I rewatched it just a couple days ago just to like get my thoughts on all three of the movies, and it is really good. Like Joe Dante put a lot into that movie. Like the effects and the story, it really did feel like a very original concept, but this one just felt like that third, like, no, you know what it is? This movie feels like the episode of like the fourth season of a show, and it's the episode that you don't really remember. That's what this episode was like. Versus the second movie, which just kind of felt like, oh yeah, this is the second season pilot that was mediocre. This was just like the forgettable fourth episode of the third season or whatever. That's really about it. Not horrible, but it's nothing really special to write home about. So that's Honey We Shrunk Ourselves. Tune in next time. It's going to be another movie review, and it's got to be a movie that's worse than this. It's going to be Jack and Jill, and I'm going to have some help with that one, so stay tuned for that. Until then, I'm the Media Wiz, because one art form wasn't enough. I will see you guys in the next review.